Now the audio is synced. What's good? So I wanted to make this video because one, I've been sitting on a bunch of videos that I haven't been able to like shoot and or put out just because timing and I just wasn't in the mood. But now I have a bit more free time, technically. I wanted to get into it. So for those of y'all who know me, or better yet, for those of y'all who shot with me, you know for a fact that I always have this on me. I always have my gimbal. I always have some form of stabilization. I never shoot without it. And that's because I hate shaky footage. I hate footage that's those micro jitters, those like micro wobbles. I despise the crap out of them. And that's why I always have my gimbal. It's a precautionary thing. Many creators might say gimbals are overrated or stabilization is overrated, just shoot handheld. I don't think it's overrated. What I do think is overrated though is constantly changing out your gimbal when it's not required. I shoot handheld when it's needed. I shoot on gimbal when it's needed. I bought this like a year ago. I know it's like 3 years old, but there's a reason why I bought the 2 instead of the 3. It's about using equipment for your shoot case versus getting the equipment for the what ifs. Bear in mind, I have bought equipment for the what ifs, but it's like you gotta pick your poison, right? I used to have the Feiyutech Scorp C, which I'm gonna put right there. And it was a great gimbal. It had like a built-in back handle with controls, had like a great underslung mode. It had a decent capacity, but when I started working with other creatives and working with other cam ops, their cameras were way too heavy to like go on my gimbal. And most people know me as the gimbal guy. Like I'm usually the guy on set with the gimbal, so most of the times they want me to shoot with the gimbal. If I can't balance a heavier rig on the gimbal, I can't shoot. And if I can't shoot, there's no work, you get me? So I decided to bite the bullet and upgrade. It was either gonna be the RS3 or the RS4, depending on when they came out. I couldn't justify spending a decent chunk of change on the RS3 Pro because I don't see the point in getting the base RS3 unless you're only shooting on just mirrorless with one lens, you know, just the bare minimum. If you're going above that with like, I would say like a FX6, a FX3 with like a fully rigged out body, or even something like a Red Komodo, I would say you need the Pro just because it has the longer arms that you can balance stuff way easier, and it also has just a higher payload capacity and motor strength. Hold and behold, I saw this thing on sale, and I'm gonna just take it out for y'all to even, I guess, get a feel for what I'm talking about exactly. So I was on Facebook Marketplace, as you know, many creatives do. Just hop on Marketplace, you check out some stuff, and yeah, this is my RS2 Pro. Basically brand new, except for the battery has like a scratch right here, which I think I caused or the previous owner caused. But the size is not necessarily what I cared about. It's the functionality. I don't only shoot events. I don't only shoot parties or, you know, just anything that's high paced, hectic and stuff like that. I also shoot corporate stuff and I also shoot real estate. I needed something that could be versatile, interchangeable, riggable, as some might say, and this is pretty much it. When I first was looking into what gimbal to get, I needed this to be a thing. Like removable battery, not only because if this dies, I want to be able to buy a new one, but I aspire to shoot car content, and the ability to, obviously for those of y'all who know it's going to be expensive, but the ability to underslung mount this, basically, if I could get the pin open, yeah, like this, on a Tilta Alien arm is something that I thought about, even though I don't own one, I don't know anyone who owns one. If you own one, hit me up because I really want to use it. But the ability to do this, or even just have a piece of equipment that can do it, so that if someone doesn't own an RS2 or an RS3 or even an RS4, they can borrow it, they can rent it out. That's basically the goal of most of my equipment, is that it's not only there for me to use, but it's there for like others to use whenever they have a use case for it. The removable battery and like the connection pins for like communication was a requirement. The second requirement was having NATO rails on the side of it. And why do I care about these? Well, unlike most people, I don't have the small rig arms. I don't have the DJI arms. I just use regular top handles, and I just slide them in on the rails on each side, lock them off. Literally as if you were putting them on a camera or something. And when I'm shooting, so with battery on and everything, so I might as well, I guess, rig it to show you guys. I actually end up holding it like this, which takes a lot of weight off when you're at an event and you're walking around getting shots. Or if you want to go underslung, you can just hold it like this while the gimbal's on and stuff or whatnot. And one thing I realized is that whenever I'm on a shoot and I'm tired, I end up doing this. Like I just rest it on my shoulder and just walk around and my camera's still rolling. So I'm getting shots. It may not be the most stable shots, but I'm getting the shots nevertheless. This was a pretty good purchase and I have no regrets for it, right? Everyone is saying, oh yeah, you should upgrade because like the 4 is better. The 4 has this connectivity, that connectivity. And that's true. I'll be the first to admit 4 looks pretty nice, looks pretty clutch. But the problem I'm having, or the problem I could say is a major issue, is that if I buy the 4 Pro, what's gonna happen to my RS2? It's something that still currently is making me money. It's something that still supports my camera, my payload, and even bigger payloads like 70 to 200 with a Lumix S5 2X, as well as like a wireless mic transmission system. Don't lean into all the hype. Don't lean into all the fear of missing out, like the fear of like not having your equipment live up to the task or the standard that other people want. Make it live up to what you want and also like learn it. I realized that having top handles on this seems silly, but it works for my workflow. That's because I learned to use it like that for my workflow. I realized that having an old gimbal, that the motors are probably, you know, gonna eventually get out of calibration. They're gonna eventually die. Is a liability, because what if I'm on set and they just kick out? Well, then I shoot handheld. Or better yet, I just turn on the stabilization on my camera and shoot like that. Because it's all up to the gear you have and up to the gear you basically put to use. I can have an RS4 and just have it sitting down because I'm scared to use it because it's hella expensive. Or I can have my old RS2 and just call it a day and say, yeah, I want to shoot with it every single day. That's why when everybody says, oh, gimbals are overrated, gimbals don't make sense, I kind of feel hurt about that, even though it's a bit biased since I'm always using gimbals, but I don't think they're overrated. I just think the use cases that you may need them for is what determines if you should get one or not get one. Handheld has its place, gimbal work is awesome, gimbal work has its place, but make sure that like you know why you're doing it. Make sure that you know the reasoning. And if you do, then get it. If you don't, then I would say just rent it. Like, you know, it's easy to rent an RS2, it's easy to rent an RS4, it's easy to rent a whole crew that runs gimbal ops. And even if you don't want to rent the gimbal because you're like, oh, but my camera, whatever. Listen, there's something called a Ronin 4D that's out there. That's basically like a chicken head stabilized camera. Rent that. That's a 6K camera or 8K depending on what sensor you want to use. And it has a gimbal built in. You are chilling, you're fine. With equipment nowadays and how the world is set, you can never really go wrong with anything that came out like after 2020 or 2016. Like, I don't know. I don't see the point in getting the latest and greatest unless your workflow needs it, or unless you outgrew your previous, you know, setup. Don't complain, don't feel like you're missing out or you're lacking equipment. Just use what you have to the fullest, and if you feel like you need an upgrade, go for it. If you don't feel like you need an upgrade, stick with what you own until it breaks, because that's what I intend to do with this. Do not quote me on that because it depends on whoever I shoot with if I need to upgrade this or not. So yeah, long-winded video just to basically say gimbals aren't overrated. You just have to have a use case for it, and handheld is good, but not all the time. Like sometimes we don't want the shaky footage. Like as an editor, I don't want the shaky footage because then I have to stabilize and zoom and crop and fix, which is fine. It's a part of the job, but guys, be kind, make people's lives easier, you know, come on. And with gimbal stuff, sometimes footage is too smooth. Like you want to add that little bit of grit and like roughness into it. So there's a time and a place, and there's a good way to do something, and then there's the right way to do something. And you realize they both sound the same. A good way is, oh, it makes my life easier and it's gonna look good. The right way is based on what you're trying to put out there. So if you're trying to put out a cinematic story about someone's carrot farm, you don't want to like have them running through the bushes like it's some blockbuster film. Like, no, you want to have those sweeping movements and like nice pans, some shots of like the carrots coming out of the ground, some chill stuff, right? But if you're shooting the next Michael Bay movie, you don't have like slow pans or stuff like you guys seen some of his stuff, right? If you haven't, I'll tag it below. Like he has like FPV drones ripping out of the sky, getting like tracking shots, and bear in mind, it looks smooth, but it still has that like grit to it. It still has that rough edge to it. So yeah, time and place, equipment determines what you do with it. Or sorry, the shoot determines what you do with the equipment. That's my final remarks. And basically, I don't think gimbals are overrated. I don't think I need to upgrade this one for now. And if I ever do, the RS4 is pretty amazing, but I think I'm gonna go with the RS3 Pro. Because if you guys realize, never get the latest and greatest because it's gonna be expensive. Get the one below it because you get a deal, you get a discount, and I just think that's pretty clutch when it comes down to the filmmaking industry. And one thing that people need to always remember, if you can't afford it, just rent it. And if you can't afford it, to rent it and or to buy it, then I don't think you need it. You know, find a workaround. If you do need it, increase your prices. Simple as that. People need to pay for stuff. But that's it. And as usual, I'm out. I'm back in school now, so yeah, I know worst possible times to make videos, but we'll see what becomes of this one in terms of like upload time. So in a bit later.